Welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in a logical order. You can begin with the basics and then move on to advanced concepts. You can even start with a speed track and build an application from scratch, which should pique your curiosity with a desire to learn more. As a programmer, we can control where a file is written to and where it might be read from. Many of our applications, this is the way we do it. If we control the file, we minimize many of the errors that might happen if we give up that control. But sometimes it makes sense to give the users the ability to control where the file resides and what it is named. Take Microsoft Word, for example. Imagine if all our letters and documents we create using Word were all stored in the same place. Might not be so pleasant. Well, some of the applications we write for users might need to be handled the same way as Microsoft Word or even Microsoft Excel. The C# programming language is two objects we can use to give the user the ability to specify where a file should be written, where it can be found, and what it should be called. These objects are called OpenFileDialog and SaveFileDialog. They have properties just like a label, a button, or a text box. But they don't go on the form. They go in an invisible tray, at least to the user, just under the form. Once placed there, they are part of your program. The following video will show you how to use the SaveFileDialog control. Most of the code you have recently written to save a file to disk can be used unchanged. We only need to change how the file name is accessed. Let's take a look. Okay, we're taking a look at the same project we've been working with in the last couple of weeks. This time we're going to do something a little different with it. We're going to give the user the ability to dictate where the file is going to be located, both in the save and in the read pieces on this thing. And we're going to be using a control called the OpenDialog control. I've got the dialogues sitting over here on the side. If you go to your toolbox, you kind of all your forms are sitting here, so everything is down there. But if you close that off, they're kind of partitioned into groups. And if you go down the dialog area, you can spot the OpenFileDialog and the SaveFileDialog pieces right here. You need these controls on your form, at least one of them if you're going to do the save, and the other one if you're going to use the read. Obviously, the save part is going to be this guy. This is going to write the thing to disk. Now, this is a different control than you're used to. Labels, forms, all these kinds of things sit on your form. When I double-click on the Save File dialog, and I'll do that right now, it goes to a small tray on the very, very bottom of your screen down here, and it's called Save File Dialog. I can name this thing now, which is what I will do. And what I'm going to name it, since it's already got the focus, is I'm going to use the Hungarian notation and use Save File Dialog SFD, and I'll call it SFD Save. So to have a name in there. Is there anything else I need to change? Not really. I can just leave it like that. And once I do that, it's sitting here down here as SFD Save. There's some properties in here I can use as well. I don't need to change any of these, but I will access some of them when I start working with this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these particular save and read buttons and move them up a little bit. We're going to keep them, but we're going to add some new ones. So I'm going to grab this one and make a copy of it and put it down here. And I'm going to take a copy of this read one, Control C, and put it down here. And I'm going to give this save button a different name. I'm just going to call it Save a File, so we can, or Save File, so we can kind of determine that it's different. Save file, got to spell it right though. Save file, F-I-L-E, and then we'll call it button btn save file. Now we're going to do the same thing with the read. We're going to say this is going to be button btn read file, and we'll go down there and say it is going to be called read file. So now we can see it's different than the other two that are there. So this will be, when we save it this way, we're going to be doing it. In fact, we put a label right here right away too. Let's go ahead and do that. Get our window controls up, find our label. Here's one right here. I could have just grabbed one, I suppose. In fact, let's do that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this, and just copy this, put it down here, and then bring it down here. And what I want to do is I want to actually say user controls file location. Pop that in there, move it off the side a little bit so we can kind of see what it is. So I got a little bit of a instruction so we know what this thing is when we actually get there. I'm going to do a quick save on it, and I'm going to go back to my dialogues here sitting on. So I've got my save file dialog, and I've got my saved name now, and everything's going to work the same way it did before. I'll enter something in here, do the add, it'll start to build up inside the list box, and when I want to save the file, I click this button instead. Now, I can click on this one too, it'll still work the same way, but this one will actually allow me to put it someplace special where I might like it. But we need to write the code for that. What's that code going to look like? It's actually not that different than the code you've been writing for this save file, with the exception of you've got to include the save file dialog control. And we'll do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the save file button right here, and we get this empty thing here. Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring in all the code that I wrote before. So I'm going to go back to my form, go to my save button, and I want all this stuff. I'm going to chop it up a little bit and move it around, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to go down here and paste it here. So that's got my new code. Let's go ahead and make this a little larger so we can see it easier. There it is. I've got my controls here. I can get rid of the toolbox right now and bring our code in place. And what we're looking at is our save file click event. Now, what I want to do here is we want to make use of that save file dialog. So what I need to do, the stream writer outbox, all this is good. These variables, we're still going to use it because we're going to process the same way. The only thing we're changing is how we access the file itself. We need to open it. So we need to go to open the file, get our stream writer, OpenFileDialog list box. That's fine. What we need now is we need to actually ask a question here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a line here. I'll just give it some room, and I'm going to say if. And I'm going to say save sfd save dot show dialog. Here it is equal to dialog results is okay. I want to do something, so I'm going to create a block here. That creates my block of what I want it to do. Else, I'm going to create a block here. I want to do something else, and that's going to be message box dot show, and it's going to say operation cancel. So you do have the cancel button when you work with the OpenFileDialog box. So if our show dialog results are okay, we want to do all that processing in here. Otherwise, we want to go ahead and do a message box show, and we want to cancel it out. So what goes in here? Well, what really goes in here is all this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and copy it right down to the close routine, do a Control X, and paste it in here. Then we're going to make some slight changes here. The output listbox.file create is fine, except we're not going to be doing it to the my listbox.txt anymore. Instead, we're going to do it to sfd save dot file name, because the save file dialog is going to return a file name of what you actually typed in there as a user and put in place. So that gives it the name. It's going to be inside this variable. That's part of the sfd save control. Then we do our processing the same. The message box name is written to disk. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So let's clean this up a little bit. Put this in place. And let's go ahead and do a file save. And start. there's our form. We're seeing it right here. We're going to go ahead and type in some things. We'll type in Taz, this Tasmanian Devil, and put him in add here. We'll put in Daffy, add. We'll put in Sylvester, add. We're going to put a whole bunch of these guys in here so it looks very different from what we had before. We're going to put in Bugs, and Porky, and Petunia, and Foghorn, and Yosemite. Anybody else? Elmer. Gotta have Elmer Fudd in there. And anybody else we can think of? Oh, Tweety has a grandma, right? Granny. Put her in there as well. Okay, we've got our stuff listed here. So let's do a save. We could do a save right here and save it to our old file. But this time we're going to use the Save File dialog. So I'm going to click on this control. And as soon as I do that, it comes up asking where I want to put this thing. It allows me to navigate to wherever I want. I go to my local C drive I want. I can do that. Oh, there's my garbage folder that I created a while back. I can go to it, open it up, and now it allows me to actually put in my file name. So my file name is going to be dialog saved file .text. This will save it as a text file because I don't have any options down here. I could have listed that as part of the requirements of my save file type, but I'm going to leave it down there. I'm just going to say save in this. Once I do that, this box content has been written to disk. That's great to know. That worked the same way. Great, that's fine. And we can exit our program. So now let's go ahead and find that file. If we can find it here, we'll go ahead and open up our File Explorer. And File Explorer pops up over on the other screen, so I'm going to bring it down. Where'd it go? Right here. And we know it's on the garbage file. So we'll go ahead and look at our C drive right here. There's our garbage folder. And there is our dialog save file text. Click on it. And that brings up a text file with those particular things there. There's our notepad file with all the things we just saved in it. So that worked out just great. So that's all you need to do to use the Save File Dialog control. Well, I did a lot of copy paste in that video. I did that because I wanted you to see how very similar Save File Dialog is to our other method of saving data. Use the same code. It's simply how the file is opened and named. That's really all you're changing. The ability to read a file from anywhere is made possible by the OpenFileDialog control. The concept is very similar to Save File Dialog. And the following video shows you just how easy that process is as well. Okay, let's look at the OpenFileDialog control next. We want to be able to read in our file once we've saved it. So we want to be able to let the user dictate where that's going to be. So I'm going to open up my toolbox. This is my view, so my tools are here. And there's my toolbox popping up there. And this time what I want to do, remember our Save File Dialog is sitting on the bottom. This time I want to use the Open File Dialog. So I'm going to double click on this. And this is the control you'd use to open a file and to be able to read it. That's what we want to do this time. All we really need to do is change the name. We don't have to change the name, but we will change the name to Open File Dialog Read and create that and put that thing in place. So now it's got this control named OFD read, Open File Dialog Read, OFD for the prefix I'm using in Hungarian notation. Then what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to create the read file button. And so I've got the button over here, and I did name it before, button read file. And it's got the read file name on top here. I'm going to double click on it now and create the event. The event gets created. Now, like I did with the Save File Dialog, I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the read button to bring in that code. So double click on it, and there's all the code I want to grab. So I'm going to grab the try catch all the way down from this stuff, and I'm just going to do a Control C, go back to my form, go to my read file, and put it in place here. Now, what I need to do is, much like I did with the Save File Dialog, I need to use the control to display the file dialog control to the user so the user can select the file they're using it. We do that with an if statement. So if, And I'll say then, we called it OpenFileDialog read.showDialog, and the dialog results equals, and we'll create a block. So if it's successful and they actually read this, we want to do that. Otherwise, we want to create another block called message box. Message box. There we go. Dot show. And it's going to be operation canceled. Operation canceled. And we'll put a semicolon at the end of this thing to end that process. So now, in other words, if the file was found by the user, our processing data is going to go in here. And if not, it's our end of file is going to go here. Our catch is still going to remain right here under that. So I'm going to grab all this and do a Control X and place that stuff in here. So now my code is going to be, my input list box is going to be a file open text, but I want to change this to file open text OFD open, or read rather, dot file name. And that's going to be the file name that the user selected on disk. Once we do that, all of this processing is the same as it had been before. So the only thing we're changing is how we're getting the file name from the user. And we can kind of create this blank, get this out of here. Now it looks like we're good here. We don't have any errors. Now let's see if we can actually bring in that file we saved last time. We'll do a file save, and we'll do a run on this thing. The program comes up. We're going to do a read file. That brings up the file dialog box. And it happens to position where we were last. It'll do that. But if we wanted to, we can still navigate and find our way. This PC local C drive. Garbage is right here. And we can find our file dialog save file text. This is the one guy we want. So we'll say OK to this. And it brings in our data. Just like it did before. The only difference here now is that we've given the user control over where to actually place this data when they're done with it. So that's all there is to it. So it's very easy to use, the file dialog control. Very easy to use. It's nice to use these things when you as a program want to control where it's going to be. And it's nice to use these when you want to let the user dictate where that file is going to sit on their particular drive. That's it. There are a number of properties in the OpenFileDialog and SaveFileDialog control that you can explore. You can specify an initial directory. You can specify a default file type. You can even change the title property, so instead of saying save as, it can say whatever you want it to say. I rarely, if ever, use these properties. I'm happy just navigating to my location on disk and specifying a name and going. These are very complete controls. What you need to take out of these videos are the SaveFileDialog and OpenFileDialog controls are added to your tray under your design form. Try catch must be used to protect the program from any file issues or unexpected errors. You need to take action if the user cancels the operation. The process is simple. Processing doesn't change. You are just using a control to access the file location and name. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available, which is roughly every Friday, every Monday. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.